Homologous structures provide evidence that these animals evolved from a common ancestor. It's found in just about every textbook. You got it in these other ones up here, I'm sure, don't you, Steve? Homologous structures as evidence for evolution. They descended from a common ancestor, textbook says. Think critically. The bones are the same, boys and girls. See, that proves we're related. Evolved from a forelimb of a common ancestor. This textbook says, comparative anatomy provides further evidence of evolution. The commonalities suggest that these and other vertebrate animals are all related. They probably evolved from a common ancestor. This is a lie. They probably have a common designer.
All right, who's on the phone there, John? We got Jared on the phone. Jared, yes, sir. You got the mathematical problem figured out?
No, I didn't actually understand the question, but I guess I could try to figure it out later.
The distance between all the planets and the sun follows a very interesting, I think it's a geometric progression.
Oh, it's probably a coincidence.
Newton figured it out. His question was, Richard's question was, does the spin of the Earth relate in some way to the speed of the Earth in its revolution around the sun?
It might. And I say that it might because in the case of the Earth-Moon system, the same face of the Moon always faces the Earth.
Right.
And I think there's a reason for that. So it might be a similar kind of thing with the Earth and Sun, but I'm not sure. I could look into it.
Yeah, what is... excuse me, I'm sick here today. What is the reason? I know the spin of the Moon and the cycle around the Earth of the Moon is identical, 29.25 days or whatever it is. So it always ends up facing the same way. But why? Is there a mathematical reason why it's that way?
I think there's a physics reason why, but I don't know what it is. I can ask a physics graduate of mine. He can get back to you on that.
Well, because one of the teachers I debated last Friday night in Colorado Springs was a physics professor, Jim something or other. And I asked him, or somebody asked him, hey, the Moon is receding about 3 inches a year. It's leaving us, slowly spiraling out. How can you say this system is billions of years old when the math shows it's, about 1.2 to 1.4 maximum by bringing the Moon back in closer, a couple inches a year.
The Moon is receding?
Yeah, the Moon is receding about 3 inches a year, leaving us.
Due to what?
Pardon me?
Due to what?
Well, there are several forces that are slowing the Earth down. One is tides washing up on the beach. Two is internal friction with the liquid core of the Earth. If you spin a basketball full of water, there'll be some internal drag. And three is prevailing wind currents, probably to a much lesser extent. But those three forces, it's known the Earth is slowing down, and that energy is being transferred to the Moon. We'll be back in 1 minute. Folks, hang in there. All right, folks, welcome back to the final segment of Creation Science Hour and a Half. Kent Hovind, I've hung in there the whole time, Jonathan. I am sick. Food poisoning from yesterday or something. But we're the folks who believe the Bible is true and evolution theory is dumb, and we'll take any calls or questions on the topic. 850-479-DINO, extension 136. And Jared, yes, go ahead. I forget what we were discussing now.
Oh, we hadn't gotten to the topic that I wanted to comment on.
Okay, because I'm only running on a few cylinders today, so go ahead.
Should I leave you alone then?
No, I can handle it.
Okay, you can handle it. I wanted to talk about this issue that always pops up between us about common design versus common ancestry.
Right.
What is it about two things that indicates that they have a common designer?
Well, I think if you look at this from numerous fields, like in the field of art, some people can just tell, hey, Picasso painted that because he has a certain style. That's the way he does it.
Right.
Or this car probably came from Ford because that's the way they designed things that year, or whatever,
Right.
Common design is usually just intuitively obvious in many cases. Things that are similar might have had the same designer. You could probably see the same with math textbooks, since you majored in math. Certain teachers, the way they present things follows a particular pattern versus the way other teachers present things, which may follow a different pattern,
Right.
I tell my kids when I teach math, how many ways are there from here to the mall?
Infinite.
Well, there are thousands. You can go from here through Chicago to the mall, or you can go from here through South Pole to the mall. There's probably one way that's shortest, and there's probably one way that's fastest, and they may not be the same. And there are a lot of ways to solve math problems, and so here's I'm going to teach you one way, and there may be some other ways that work. So it's just a method of teaching, and that's my style of teaching, is to show all sides of an issue, if possible, all theories. See, I think it's obvious that like the Honda Prelude and the Honda Accord and the Honda Civic came from the same minds. You know, these Japanese guys are designing certain things with cup holders in the right spot, et cetera.
Same mind. So you're invoking common designers, plural?
Well, in the case of, Japanese cars, probably there's a whole team of guys that get together and agree on things.
But see, the thing is that you already know that they have common designers. You know that they use teams of engineers to design those things.
Actually, I don't. I've never been to see them made. I can infer that, though, from seeing what they designed.
How's that?
I mean, I can look at them and say, wow, I bet the same guy designed this.
Yeah, but you can't tell. I mean, when you look at the two different cars, do you know which pieces of the car were designed by the same guy who designed certain other pieces? I mean, can you tell that the wheel housing was designed by the same guy who designed, say, the heat shield?
Well, not always, but like back in the early 60s, a lot of cars had big fins. That was kind of the style.
Yeah.
In the early 70s, everybody had green shag carpeting. That was the style. They thought that looked good. And so you could tell, like Frank Lloyd Wright, he designed all kinds of buildings. I've been in 4 or 5 of them that he designed. And there's just a Frank Lloyd Wright feel to it. I don't know how else to say it. Just the way things are designed. People say, that's designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Okay. So when you look at two different things, how would you know how would you infer that they were not designed by a common designer?
Oh, let's see. Probably, if you look at the Mercedes versus the Honda as an example.
But you already know that those weren't designed by a common designer.
Right. I'm trying to find an illustration that'll work here, though. We can see, Mercedes is designed for driving fast. One guy said it this way: the Germans actually drive to work, and design their cars. The Japanese take the subway to work or the train to work and design their cars.
That's very clever.
So the Germans they're just designed to be really comfortable, really tough, and go really fast. So I've got the article somewhere here where hell is where the Germans are the cops, the French are the cooks, and the Italians are the lovers, or something like that. Anyway, going through the illustrations of different cultures are just different. So, when you look at things like the two bones in the forelimb of quite a few different animals.
Vertebrates.
Yeah. Almost all vertebrates have the same basic pattern of 2 bones in the forelimb, one in the the humerus, radius and ulna, the carpals and metacarpals and phalanges.
Yeah, except for ray-finned fish, all vertebrates do.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Well, you would interpret it as common ancestor. I would interpret it as common designer.
No, hold on. Now, why do you interpret that as common designer? Because we have a vast array of different designs going on here.
Well, we have the same basic design for multiple uses, some for flying, some for swimming, some for grasping. That's an amazing... I mean, any engineer that would think that if you could design a machine to do what the human wrist and could do, you'd be rich.
Uh-huh.
It is phenomenally complex and yet amazingly simple in its design. Your wrist acts sort of like a sack full of marbles that rotate past each other that allows it to have unbelievable flexibility and still retain this awesome strength. So what does that mean? Well, you can interpret it common ancestor if you want. I interpret it common designer.